What's up, everybody? Kyle here at Let's Talk Wax with Prospect Hot Sheet episode 5. This is a bi-weekly series that I do every 2 weeks, and we're going to cover about 50 prospects in this episode so you can find out who's hot and who's not. Now, there are some qualifications for this. They have to be hitters under the age of 24 and within rookie limits. Each of the top 15 also receive a Let's Talk Wax rank, and you can see the ranks here in the top right. If you guys want to grab a snapshot of that table, it will help you navigate through a lot of my content. But without further ado, let's jump into the top 50 performing prospects from the last 2 weeks. At number 15, we have Orelvis Martinez, all the way back from 2019. Bowman, Toronto Blue Jays shortstop slash third base prospect. He's played the majority of his innings at shortstop as opposed to third base this season so far. 21.6, he's playing in AA, had 3 home runs, 5 doubles, 10 RBIs, and 6 walks over the last 15 days. He's got big raw power, and that also plays well in game. You can see his current 2023 ISO is 313. He's already got 16 home runs so far. We're just about to the midpoint of minor league baseball. Now, his K numbers are pretty solid, but his batting average is always going to sit around 220 to 230. You can look at his career stats. He's not going to hit for a ton of average, but he is going to hit for a ton of power. You can see the career 274 ISO. Now, he's currently not a top 100 prospect. He was a few years ago, but I think since the batting average has sunk so low, he kind of worked his way off of that list. Within the Toronto Blue Jays organization, he is number 4. I give him a Let's Talk Wax rank of 2, and you can find his first chrome autos, like I said, all the way back in 2019 Bowman for around $40 right now. At number 14, we've got no stranger to Prospect Hot Sheet, Colt Keith. I think he's been on every episode so far this year, whether it was in the top 15 or in the honorable mention section. Detroit Tigers third base prospect. He's 21.8, playing in AA, hit 370 with 3 homers, 6 doubles, 8 ribbies, and 6 walks over the last 15 days. Now, Colt Keith has an exceptional bat. He can hit for contact, he can hit for power, and he's got really good K numbers. The only thing he doesn't have is game-changing speed and a lot of defensive upside. So we really are betting on the big bat with Colt Keith, but like I said, it is a special bat. So far on the season, he's hitting 332 with a 265 ISO, 21.2 K percentage, 2.13 K to walk ratio, right in the pocket with great K numbers there. 12 homers, 2 stolen bases. Career-wise, he's hitting 306. Not a lot of guys in minor league baseball that have played as long as Colt Keith, being drafted in 2020, have a 306 career batting average, a 205 ISO. He is a top 100 prospect at number 83. He is behind Jace Young in the Tigers organization at number 2. He's a Let's Talk Wax rank for me at 1.5. I've liked Colt Keith for a long time. Even 2 years ago when he was kind of battling some injuries, his bat was really starting to show up in the small sample sizes he's had, and over the last 2 years, he's really just become kind of well known within the hobby that he can hit. So he's out of 2020 draft, like I mentioned before, and he's not very cheap anymore. I think he used to be like a $10 auto maybe 2 years ago, but his base autos are selling right now for around $80. At number 13, we've got Kalai Rosario with the Minnesota Twins. He's 20.9 years old, playing in high A. He's an outfielder. He's not going to have a ton of defensive upside. He may be a corner, probably a left field prospect, maybe even first base DH type kid. 319, 5 homers, 2 doubles, 16 RBIs. Now, he's having one of the best seasons, if not the best season of his career so far in 2023. He's hitting 290 with a 230 ISO, a 28 K percentage, a 2.24 K to walk ratio, 10 homers, and 2 stolen bases. Now, he is a career 262 hitter with a career 186 ISO. So the power numbers have really started to kind of come to life for Rosario in 2023. I think he had 12 home runs at this in his entire season in 2022, and he's already got 10 in 2023 as we kind of get closer to the midway point for minor league baseball. Now, the big problem with Rosario, like I said, is he does not have a lot of defensive upside. He doesn't have a lot of impact speed. He's got no impact speed on the bases, but the big issue are the K numbers. He's got a 28.0 K percentage in high A at 20.9, a career K percentage of 31.0. So he does strike out quite a bit, and he's yet to go to AA where we can get a sample size and see how the strikeouts are going to impact his in-game power. So he's still a pretty cheap auto, and I think that's the reason, the K numbers and having no experience in the upper levels of the minor leagues. So he's a $15 auto right now in the 2020 draft. He's not a top 100 prospect. He's actually not even ranked within the system right now on MLB.com. He's a Let's Talk Wax rank of 5 for me, and that could really jump up if he continues to hit and he can lower his K rate in AA, but that's something we'll have to wait to see what happens. At number 12, a player that I think could be really exciting down the road and not really the prototype baseball player that people are looking for right now. He's an elite contact, elite speed player. Philadelphia Phillies Justin Crawford at 19.4, playing in A-ball. He's an outfielder, hit .435 over the last 15 games, 2 triples, 2 doubles, 5 RBIs, and 4 stolen bases. Now Crawford is hitting .336 on the year with a career .309 batting average. Now he was drafted in 2022, so it's a very small sample size for him. The big thing with Crawford is the power. The power is just not there yet, and I don't know if it's going to come, but he's got excellent K rates. He's got a 19.1 K percentage and 2.46 K to walk ratio. No home runs. He takes home the lowest number in that category on the list, but he's already got 32 stolen bases. Now I know they're pretty much gimmies in low A, but there's no one even close to that many on this list. 32 bags, and we're not to the midway point quite yet, hitting .336. So a really impactful hit tool, and he's got game-changing speed on the bases. He's going to be able to take bases pretty much at will, but he's just not going to hit for much power. I don't see it coming down the road. I think it would have sort of manifested itself by now, but he's got a 100 ISO with a career ISO of .082, the lowest on this list by far. But I still think he's going to be a very solid big league player, guy that can get on base, hit for average, steal bases, prototypical maybe leadoff or 9-hole guy. But it's really going to be fun to see how kind of Justin Crawford develops as he moves up into the ranks. Not on the top 100 yet. I think he will be a guy that ends up there in the future. Number 4 in the Phillies organization, he's a Let's Talk Wax rank of 1.5, and his cards are about $50 for his first chrome autos in 2023 Bowman. At number 11, we've got Adrian Del Castillo making his first appearance on Prospect Hot Sheet. Arizona Diamondbacks 23.7 AA catcher, hit .382 with 4 jacks, 2 doubles, and 17 RBIs, 7 walks over the last 15 days. Now, Adrian Del Castillo is on a hot streak right now. It may be a very good time to sell any Adrian Del Castillo cards that you have laying around or stacked in a box somewhere, maybe hidden under some other cards. But I would sort through the boxes, maybe try to find some and get rid of them quick. He's 23.7, as I mentioned before, so he's very close to graduating from Prospect Hot Sheet. He is having the best season of his career so far. He hasn't had a very good career in the minor leagues, hitting .236 with a 161 ISO and a 24.2 K percentage. But he's hitting .273 so far in 2023 with a just under 200 ISO. He's got okay K numbers, 24.8 K to walk ratio, but I do like the sub 2 K to walk ratio of 24.8 K percentage and the sub 2 K to walk ratio. 8 homers, 2 stolen bases. He's actually on the chopping block on my 2021 Bowman draft autograph checklist breakdown. You can find all those breakdowns over my Patreon page. I put a link to that in the description. And he is a $1 auto. So it's exciting when we get new players, and I haven't really even tracked Del Castillo that much. Like I said, he's on the chopping block on my breakdown, so I don't track those guys. He's going to be aging out soon. But like I said, if you have any Del Castillo cards, now may be a great time to find them and sell. And as I just mentioned, if you guys enjoy this content and you want to help support the channel, please check out my Patreon page. I'll put a link to it in the video description. I've got a top 100 Bowman Chrome Autos list and a top 100 Bowman Chrome Autos under $50 list. I've got all the autographed checklist breakdowns from every release from 2019, a private Discord server. You get early access to my YouTube content, and I also do free giveaways over there. Like I said, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Patreon page. I'll put a link to it in the video description. We're going to break into the top 10 with the red-hot Yanquiel Fernandez, Colorado Rockies, 20.4 years old. High A outfielder, hit .340 over the last 15 days with 4 homers, a triple, 3 doubles, and 15 RBIs. Now, Fernandez is having somewhat of a breakout year. He's hitting .325 with a .284 ISO and 18.8 K percentage, which is all exceptionally good compared to some other players in high A at his age. He does have a little bit of an aggressive knack in him. He's got a 3.12 K to walk ratio, and he does get aggressive at times, but it hasn't affected his production, and he does not strike out very much. He's got 16 home runs so far on the year. He's just one behind Christian Encarnacion Strand, who is again in our top 5. No surprise there. Career-wise, he's hitting .305 with a .235 ISO and a 19.1 K percentage. Now, Yanquiel Fernandez is a lot like Colt Keith. He is going to be a big bat, but there's not going to be a whole lot more of upside outside of his offensive production. He has pretty solid K percentages. Like I said, he's a bit aggressive, but he's been hitting really well in 2023. His cards have shot up significantly over the last 4 weeks because he was in the top 5 last episode, and he's just doing a really good job right now in 2023. So he's a guy who could see a promotion to AA at any moment. He started in low A, struggled at the very beginning of the year. I think after about a week in low A, they promoted him to high A, and he's crushing high A. So I don't think a promotion to AA is too far off. He's not a top 100 prospect yet. He's number 10 in the Rockies organization. For me, he's a Let's Talk Wax rank of 1 because I really like the bat and the production levels. He's out of 2022 Bowman Chrome Legs. His cards are around $60 right now. At number 9, we've got Jace Young, Detroit Tigers, a guy that had some hype behind his name with the 2022 Bowman draft release. He's 22.8, playing in high A right now. Second base, hit .391 with 4 homers, 4 doubles, and 14 RBIs over the last 15. Now he's hitting .262 on the year, a 200 ISO, a 24.8 K percentage, a sub 2 K to walk ratio, 9 homers, and a stolen base. So he didn't perform very well in 2022 post-draft at all. He kind of got off to a slow start so far in 2023, but this could be, Jace Young finally settling into minor league baseball, getting used to the wooden bat, and starting to be what people thought he could be coming out of the draft. And like I said, it's been kind of a struggle for him so far. He's got a .251 career batting average, a 165 ISO, and a 23.4 K percentage. He is a top 100 prospect at number 69, and like I said, he is ahead of Colt Keith as the Detroit Tigers' number 1 prospect in their organization. For me, he's a 2.5 on the Let's Talk Wax ranks, just simply because players have to prove through the numbers what they are capable of doing. For me, I don't get into a lot of hype. I don't really look at anything besides the numbers. I let the numbers kind of tell the story. So if Jace Young can get to AA by the end of the year, he's almost 23, and that's really where he needs to be right now, and have some production at that level. He may increase, but if he kind of trends towards what his career he's been doing at .250 hitter, he may even drop a little bit more. So he could kind of go either way. I just got to wait and see with him. 2022 draft, his cards are around $50 right now. At number 8, we've got Judd Fabian out of the University of Florida, looking like a second-round steal by the Baltimore Orioles, who are just racking up exceptional prospects. They have probably the best farm system in baseball right now. I feel like I'm covering Orioles prospects and Reds prospects all the time in Hot Sheet. He's 22.7, playing in high A this year, an outfielder, .424 batting average over the last 15 with 3 jacks, 4 doubles, 12 RBIs, 12 walks, and 7 stolen bases. Big line there. He's having a pretty solid year. I see Fabian as more of a floor player, more of a solid big league future than a high ceiling guy, who's going to grow into a ton of power and just continue to progress and get better. I think Fabian is going to be a very safe bet, and he could be an impact to solid major league player, maybe even a fourth outfielder for the Orioles, just because their system is so loaded with a lot of great players. He's hitting .291 on the year so far with a .224 ISO. Pretty good K numbers, 23.8 K percentage, and a sub 2 K to walk ratio, which is what I like. He's got 9 homers and 19 stolen bases. He's hit throughout his minor league career, which is short. He was drafted in 2022, so he's another one of those smaller sample size guys, hitting .310 over his career with 242 ISO and a pretty solid K percentage on his career as well. Now, he's not a top 100 prospect. He's number 15 in the Orioles system, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's bad, because like I've been telling everybody from the get-go of 2023, the Baltimore system is just completely overloaded with dudes, with studs. So being in the number 15 spot in that organization is probably like being in the top 10 in some others. So he's a Let's Talk Wax rank of 2.5 for me, and his cards are still pretty cheap at $15 out of 2022 Bowman draft. PCA breaks on to the top 15 finally this season at number 7. Chicago Cubs center fielder in AA, 21.3, hit .353 with 4 jacks, 2 triples, 2 doubles, 12 RBIs, and 5 stolen bases over the last 15 days. A really big last 2 weeks for Pete Crow Armstrong, who's been a really solid and consistent player throughout his minor league career. The proof's in the career numbers: a career .310 hitter, 208 ISO, 21.8 K percentage, drafted back in the first round in 2020. So he's had a pretty long career so far, 3 seasons, and he's just put up really good numbers. Another guy who I think could be a floor guy and still have a little bit of ceiling over his head as he kind of grows into his body, because his swing is really pretty to watch. He gets a lot of good barrel whip. He kind of gets pull heavy at times, but his power could increase as he matures. But just the bat alone and the defensive upside, I think, are going to get him to the big leagues and make him a solid big leaguer. And, you know, the physical development could probably bring him maybe to another level as he gets larger in size. Hopefully it doesn't slow him down. But he's a really good player. He's a .291 hitter so far this year in AA with a 223 ISO. He's got really solid K percentages. He's kind of like Yanquiel Fernandez. He doesn't take many walks, but it hasn't impacted his production so far and throughout his career. He's got 8 homers and 16 stolen bases on the year so far. He is number 13 in the top 100, number 1 in the Cubs organization. He's a 1.5 for me on the Let's Talk Wax rank. I think he could possibly be an organizational star within the Cubs system, and it's a team that's very popular in the hobby. Out of 2020 draft, his cards are pretty expensive. They've been very expensive for a long time. I think this is about where they've been since he came out of shoulder surgery back in 2020 and just started hitting. So his cards are pretty expensive, but like I said, there's a really good chance that Pete Crow Armstrong is going to be a solid big leaguer for many years to come. At number 6, we've got a guy who's been on the hot sheet before, AJ Vukovich, Arizona Diamondbacks, 21.9, playing in AA. He's a third baseman. He was one of the guys that I bought into a couple years ago as a sleeper. His cards were about the same price, maybe if not a little more expensive, because it was right around the COVID era. I bought some AJ Vukovich stuff. I just liked the upside of the power maybe and the hit tool, and he was pretty cheap. But the big thing that's going on with Vukovich is his K to walk ratio. He's super aggressive. He's got a 5.00 K to walk ratio, and he's kind of a roller coaster guy. He'll get hot, cool off, get hot, cool off. So kind of unpredictable, but he's still pretty young for the level. He's going to turn 22 here in the next month or two in AA. So 5 home runs over the last 15 with a triple, 4 doubles, and 16 RBIs. So he was really hot for the last 2 weeks. On the season so far in AA, he's hitting .270 with a 238 ISO, which is much higher than his career ISO of 186, which shows me that he's having a really good year, or he's starting to grow into some more power as he develops physically. I think he's about 6'2", so I'm not sure how much more development there's going to be as far as the physical aspect goes, but he's got a 29.5 K percentage, 10 home runs, 7 stolen bases, and the K numbers are just the big worry for me here. Is he going to be able to make enough contact if he gets to the big league level to even stay up there, or is he going to be a guy that kind of just bounces back and forth between AAA, AA, and possibly the major leagues? So that's all another wait and see with AJ Vukovich. He's not a top 100 prospect. He's number 11 in the Diamondbacks organization. I gave him a Let's Talk Wax rank of 3. He is out of 2020 Bowman draft, and his cards are selling for right around $5 right now. Now, before we get into our honorable mentions and our top 5, I'm going to be doing some live streams over on the Whatnot app. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's a really cool app that has live auctions and live breaks. Lots of cool stuff over there. You can get a free $15 credit if you use my invite link at www.whatnot.com/invite/let's talk wax. I'll put a link to that in the description, and I'll have a lot more info on my live stream scheduled for June 28th, where I'm going to auction off some teams with the 2023 Bowman break. So head over there and check me out. Use my link. You'll get $15 free to spend over on the Whatnot app. So we've got a pretty healthy honorable mentions list over the last 2 weeks. And like I always tell you guys, if you want to grab some screenshots here, I actually put some cold guys in the mix too. But I'm not going to go through every player and give a big breakdown, because I don't want this video to be about 3 hours. So if you want to grab some screenshots, I broke it down by leagues. This episode has been so many guys. I think we had about 60 or 70 guys on the honorable mentions list. So here is your AAA honorable mentions: Jorge Barrosa, Jordan Adams, Xavier Edwards. Adams has been on the hot sheet a few times. He's having probably one of the better years of his career. Rocchio struggling, Justin Henry Malloy struggling, and Joan Kenzie Noel still hitting home runs, but not hitting for any average. Had a big group in the Eastern League: sleeper Chase Medruff, Jose Peroza, Kobe Mayo coming back, Damiano Palmaggiani with the Toronto Blue Jays. He's a guy to keep an eye on as a big sleeper. Juan Brito still hitting, Ceddanne Rafael still playing well. Nick York's having another great season. Liover Peguero should be working his way back to the big league soon. Johan Rojas, a sleeper with some speed that I've been talking about for a while, just hasn't really shown off his hit tool, but he's doing pretty well in 2023 so far. Petey Halpin, another sleeper guy with a $10 auto. Alex Benelis is on a hot streak with the Milwaukee Brewers. And Marco Luciano is making his first appearance on this list with 4 homers, but only hitting .238 over the last 15 days. Marcelo Meyer is starting to figure it out in AA, but he's still got some pretty rough numbers, trying to recover from that first 10 days in AA where he really struggled. Robert Hassel struggling, and Zach Veen still ice cold in AA. Out of the Texas League, we got Jorbit Vivas, Dustin Harris, who's stealing a lot more bases than I ever thought he would. Ryan Bliss, a guy I just covered on a sleeper video, having a really big year in 2023. Tommy Sagasi had 5 home runs but didn't hit for a whole lot of average. And Luis Angel Acuna is now a shortstop and having a really good season in AA. His cards are around $50. Ice cold is Aaron Zavala with 27 strikeouts in the last 2 weeks. I've got some of his stuff, so I really hope he can pick it up. And Drew Gilbert has gotten on a bit of a cold streak since being promoted to AA. He's over 3 for 43 with 11 Ks up in AA right now. So a little bit of a struggle bus for Drew Gilbert after a really solid start to High A. Southern League is Reese Hines, a guy that I have a friend who's going to be very excited to make his second straight honorable mention appearance on the hot sheet. Had 3 home runs. He struck out a ton, but he did hit 3 home runs. Cody Morissette, 23.5, had some jacks. Felix Valerio is a hit tool guy that went to sleep last year that I thought would have a bigger year, but he's just doing okay. Junior Caminero is red hot in the hobby right now. He's just playing really well, 19.9 in AA, 2 homers, hitting .306 over the last 15. Jose Rodriguez, another one of the sleepers I've liked, who's had a little bit of speed, just hasn't hit for a ton of power, had .389 over the last 15. And of course, Jackson Trio, the baby in AA, had 2 home runs, 4 doubles, 11 RBIs, and 5 stolen bases. So Jackson Trio probably going to be one of the next guys to come up into the big leagues and kind of put on shows like Ellie De La Cruz. He is going to be probably a really good player down the road. Owen Casey is ice cold, along with David Calabrese. Both had 15 Ks over the last 2 weeks. On to High A, we see Drew Baker, his sleeper guy that I like at the Tampa Bay Rays. He's just a little old for High A. Hopefully he can get to AA soon. Spencer Jones put some balls in play and did a little bit of damage. Blaze Jordan's continuing to hit in 2023. Another sleeper with the Rays is Willie Vasquez, a bit old for the level, but had a solid last 15. Dylan Beavers, another super prospect in the Baltimore Orioles organization. Outfielder with 2 home runs, 4 doubles. Jeremy De La Rosa, a blast from the past. Now, you will notice that 2021 Bowman was probably one of the worst releases in the last 5 years as far as the checklist goes. But this hot sheet, especially in the honorable mentions department, is filled with a lot of guys from 2021 Bowman and that release. So just keep an eyeball on that. I'm not sure what those boxes even comp for now, if they're even over. I'm sure they're under $200 for a 1-auto hobby. Brainer Bonacci, another guy out of 2021 Bowman, and Trey Lipscomb, who turned 23 today, had a good last 15. He's a little bit old for high A, but the Tennessee graduate had a good last 15 days. Ice cold is Alexander Vargas, who was on the hot sheet, the top 15, I think 2 episodes ago with the New York Yankees. So we can see he was clearly on a hot streak, because over the last 15, he struck out 14 times and had 3 hits and 39 at bats. TJ White struggling, still very young, 19.9 in high A, 4 for 34 with 12 Ks. Out of the Midwest League, we got Alex Freeland, who could be a bit of a sleeper. Keep an eyeball on him. Victor Scott still hitting the ball. He's been on hot sheet a few times so far this year. James Trianos. There's a lot of guys that I am in social networks with that really love James Trianos and think that he is going to be very special with the Cubs, and it's kind of a wait and see guy. I'd like to see the power maybe develop more, but I think the hit tool is very, very good. Caden Wallace, I did some sleeper stuff on him when 2022 draft released. He's got some power, an SEC bat. Tanner Scoble, another possible sleeper guy, going to be 23 soon though, so he's a bit old for high A. Kevin Alcantara making the list with a home run of 353 batting average. And Dalton Rushing, I think, has been another guy who's been on the honorable mentioned list for the entire series so far in 2023. Isaac Pacheco struggling big time in high A, hitting 103 with 18 Ks. And I think the hobby is finally done with Joshua Mears. Don't buy the hype when a kid hits 1 home run with a 113 mile per hour exit velocity in spring training. Don't buy his card for $50 when he's got a 33.3 career minor league K percentage, because he is struggling big time. 136 with a 16 Ks over the last 15. Lots of action coming out of the Northwest League. Sterling Thompson's healthy again and continuing to rake like he's done since being drafted. His autos are now actually up to about $35. Ivan Melendez hit 4 more home runs. He's going to strike out a little bit, but he is going to hit for some big power. Adrian Placencia had a pretty big last 2 weeks, and he's only a $5 auto. Definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Jordan Beck, Adiel Amador up in Spokane, having some solid time in high A with the Colorado Rockies. Harry Ford sneaks on here with 2 home runs. Wilder Patino, another guy who's a blast from the past, has the probably Justin Crawford-like legs, but not Justin Crawford-like bat-to-ball skills. So he's a guy who's a little old for high A. He was kind of a popular guy in the hobby back when COVID was going around. I think people thought he'd tap into a lot more power with his speed, but he hasn't done that yet. Errol Vera, a guy who was actually in the top 5 of my initial 2021 Bowman Chrome top 15 release back in the day, and he's done nothing but struggle since the DSL. Alexander Ramirez, Los Angeles Angels, a home run and a 366 batting average over the last 15. Ice Cold is a guy that I do like still. Amerson Arteaga, San Francisco Giants, 20.1 in high A. He's 8 for 42 with 12 Ks over his last 15, but I think he will pick some things up. I think there's a pretty solid bat there, and he could pick up for sure. Jumping into low A, we've got Ryan Spikes, who's 20.2. He's been on the show before. 4 home runs out of 2021 draft. $10 auto. Moises Ballesteros, a guy I like out of 2023 Bowman as a sleeper. I covered him in my last sleeper video. Carlos Colmenero is coming back to life finally with 2 home runs and a 295 batting average over the last 15. Luis Lara out of 2023 Bowman. No autos, plain white envelope shipping. His base chromes are probably about $1. Yasan Morabel, good hit tool. Don't know how much power he's going to get into. Cameron Colley, a guy we don't see on here very often, with 3 home runs. And Daniel Cueva, another guy who could be a little bit of a sleeper out of 2022 Bowman Chrome. Now, ice cold, we have Elijah Green, the guy that everybody was paying $150 for on release with 15 Ks and a 135 batting average. Just a good reminder not to buy into the hype. And Eric Pena, another good example of not buying into the hype. 20.2, still hasn't made it out of A-ball. 5 for 30 with 19 Ks. I think he was a $300 base auto out of 2020 Bowman Chrome right around the COVID era. So just be very careful about paying premium prices for guys who have very small sample sizes and have a lot of hype. Florida State League, Jack Brannigan, too old for high A. Sal Stewart finally coming around, 357 with a homer and 4 doubles. Hector Rodriguez is still here, hitting 19.2 in low A, 3 homers over the last 15 days. One of the sleeper guys out of 2023 Bowman I like, but his autos are starting to get expensive. People are starting to realize that he does have a little bit of juice for his age. Juan Bin Cho has been playing really well in 2023, 19.8, 353 batting average with a triple, 2 doubles, and 4 ribbies. And Joshua Baez, a guy who likes to strike out, but when he's not striking out, he hits a couple doubles, 19.9 in low A, $12 auto out 2022 Bowman. Struggling in the Florida State League is Cam Collier, Cincinnati Reds, 18.5. He's 4 for 36 with 6 punch outs over the last 15, but he's only 18. Christian Santana, a kid that I was really high on about 2 years ago, and he stopped hitting the second that I got high on him. He put up some really good numbers in the Dominican Summer League. He showed off some pretty impressive power, and that was about the time I learned my lesson on not putting a whole lot of stock in DSL stats because they can become greatly skewed when the kids come stateside. So always consider small sample sizes and DSL stats. Kind of take those with a grain of salt in your hobby journey until they get over to the United States and they can perform over a larger sample size. California League, we've got Jamari Baylor, almost 23, playing in low A, but he did crank 3 homers and hit 500, so I had to put him on the list. Diego Velasquez, a really, really good hit tool here for the young shortstop prospect for the San Francisco Giants. Hasn't really tapped into much power, but he's a guy I definitely like, has a really good hit tool, $10 auto out of 2022 Bowman Chrome. Henry Bolte is making more contact and putting up bigger numbers, 2 homers and 2 triples and a double. He's a $50 auto. K-Rob is finally playing minor league baseball again. A guy who had some really, really expensive autos, got into some trouble with the law, had some psychological issues, I think, but has worked his way back into the United States. I also think he had some visa issues. He's back playing in low A, had 2 home runs. He's 22.5, so interesting guy to watch there. Jorge Ruiz out of 2023 Bowman, along with Nelson Rada. Both 2 very young Angels prospects that you should keep an eye on because I think they could have pretty good solid seasons in 2023. Another justification not to buy hype is Pedro Pineda, who is 6 for 33 with 14 Ks in low A, 19.8 out of 2021 Bowman Chrome. And finally, our Complex League and DSL honorable mentions. Now, there were so many guys hitting right around 400 in the DSL because the sample size is so small. I felt like there were about 300 guys hitting over 300. Really hard to sort. Austin Charles, super sleeper, kid you need to watch. I talked about this with one of my buddies, or he'd mentioned it in a comment over on my Facebook group, who's really, really good at prospecting and finding hidden gems. Christopher Martin, shout out to you. But Austin Charles had a home run, a triple, a double, 3 RBIs, hit almost 500 over the last 15. Alexis Hernandez, he is 18.4 playing in the Complex League. He's stateside, 483 batting average. I don't think he has any base autos. I think all of his autos are refractor and up, $30. Diane Jorge, Yordi De Los Santos had a big last 15. Another baby playing in the Complex League who's stateside with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Martin Jimenez, 19.2, hit 368 with 4 walks. Now, ice cold in the Complex League as we start. Brian Acuna, Yasser Mercedes, and Christian Vaquero. Now, Yasser had astonishing stats in the DSL. He was probably one of the best DSL players in 2022, and I hope he can come around as he adjusts to being stateside. The Ks really aren't rampant, so I think that he will adjust and put up some better numbers, but I'm really kind of disappointed to see him struggling so much. He was a guy I really liked out of 2022 Bowman Chrome. I think I had him in my top 5 on release, but what I'm starting to learn is possibly not ranking guys very high based on a small DSL sample size. So you live and you learn. Hopefully he can turn things around. I was never as high as Christian back here was priced on his performance, but these are the ice cold guys out of the complex league, and we're going to jump into our top 5. All right, folks, we have some of the usual suspects in our top 5. You'll notice Elly De La Cruz and Christian Strand have been locks so far in the top 15, I think, in almost every episode. But we do have some newcomers. Edwin Arroyo, Cincinnati Reds, another system that's stacked. You can see we've got 3 Cincinnati Reds in the top 5 on this episode. 19.8 playing in high A, shortstop, hit almost 500 over the last 15 with 3 jacks, a triple, 4 doubles, 9 RBIs, and 4 stolen bases. So he's having a solid season so far. Nothing super exciting. He's still pretty young for high A, 250 batting average, 177 ISO. The K numbers are just, the K to walk ratio is really high for me, but the K percentage is pretty low, right around 20. 7 home runs, 9 stolen bases. Now he's in a system that is, like I said, stacked with infield prospects. I really don't know what the Reds are going to do, especially with Elly De La Cruz already being in the big leagues and having some success. The K's are starting to get a little rampant, but he's doing things up there that everybody thought he would do. He's an electric player, and I really don't see him going anywhere. So I'm interested to see what the Cincinnati Reds do with all their middle infield or corner infield prospects. Over his career, he's hit 274 with a 177 ISO, a 23.9 K percentage. He's a 32 ranked prospect in the top 100, number 2 in the organization. And he's a number 2 for me on Let's Talk Wax coming out of 2021 draft. He does not have an auto. One guy that I thought really would or should have a Bowman Chrome auto by now, he is a Chrome first only out of 21 draft. At number 4, I'm going to try to be quick because I'm running out of voice. Jordan Lawler, making his first appearance in the top 15, has had a really tough first half of the year, but he's come along greatly in the last 15 days. He's yet to turn 21. He's playing in AA. He's playing shortstop, their everyday shortstop over there. Like I said, Ryan Bliss is getting all the reps at second base because he's going to be the shortstop of the future, especially if Perdomo does not hit as well as he did in the first couple of months of the MLB season. 3 homers, 6 doubles, 6 ribbies, 4 stolen bases. He's got a 206 ISO, just under 250 batting average. Pretty good K numbers for a guy that's 20 years old playing in AA. 8 homers, 16 stolen bases. 286 career batting average, 206 career ISO. So you can see where the numbers are most likely to go with Jordan Lawler. You can see he's playing a little bit under batting average wise, his career numbers, and he's always been challenged age level wise. He's never really caught a break being close to the average age of the players in the level he's been at. So number 8 in the top 100, number 1 in the Diamondback system. Him and Elly De La Cruz are the only 2 on this list with elite Let's Talk Wax ranks. 2021 draft, and he's actually pretty cheap, but I think it kind of has to do with his early struggles in 2023 at $150. Number 3, as we enter Elly Mania, as I'm going to call it for the next month or 2, Cincinnati Reds number 1 prospect Elly De La Cruz was promoted to the big leagues. He has had a pretty electric showing so far, showing he can hit, he can run, he can hit for power. His K numbers are starting to stack up a little bit, but that's to be expected at the major league level. Just a really, really good for the hobby type of guy, good for the game of baseball. I think that he's just going to be a really exciting player to watch. 4 homers, 4 doubles, and 14 RBIs in AAA before he got called up. 298 batting average over the course of the whole season so far, 335 ISO. The K numbers were regulated in 2023, and I actually had Elly De La Cruz as a 1 prior to the start of the 2023 season because his K numbers were just a little too high for me, but he got him down to like the 26s, so I gave him the elite rank right before the call-up. But he's having a pretty good showing up there, like I said, electric stuff. Number 4 in the top 100, number 1 in the organization, elite Let's Talk Wax rank, and his autos have gone crazy. Like I said, Elly Mania is here. His base autos, raw base autos, the last one sold for $600. So some of the wildest prices I've seen in a long time for a Chrome base auto since the COVID era. $600, it's pretty crazy, and we're just gonna keep on riding the train of Elly Mania. So go into your card boxes, dig deep, see how many Elly De La Cruz cards you can find, and get them on eBay fast. At number 2, another guy I'm not going to waste a whole lot of breath on because I talk about him every 2 weeks, Christian Encarnacion Strand. When are we going to get him a call up with Elly De La Cruz? All he does is hit. He's got the highest 2023 batting average and the highest 2023 ISO on this list, the most home runs on this list, the highest career batting average on this list, and the highest career ISO on this list. Number 7 in the organization with the Cincinnati Reds, not a top 100 prospect according to MLB.com. He is a 1 Let's Talk Wax rank. His cards are back up into the $115 to $125 range out of 2021 Bowman draft. Please get this guy to the big leagues because he's about to age out, and I really want to see what he can do. Things can happen very quickly in this hobby, and Luis Matos had one of the worst seasons of any top prospect in 2022, but he caught fire just a couple months ago in AAA. There was an injury at the big league level. He is going to play tonight in the major leagues. He's getting called up. Like I said, I'm not sure if he's going to play, but he was called up to the major leagues on 6/14, San Francisco Giants 21.4. He's an outfielder who had just really, really good numbers in 19 and 2021. Great hit tool, great power, and he just fell off a complete cliff in 2022. He almost became a no-name in the hobby. His cards were selling for all-time lows. There were a lot of guys out there saying, oh my gosh, I'm buying Matos all day at these prices, and it's paying off for them with his current autos, his current base auto selling for $125 out of 2020 Chrome. So starting the 2023 season in AAA, he's hitting .350 with a .211 ISO, an 8.01 K percentage, and a 0.83 K to walk ratio. Just absolutely absurd K numbers. I've never seen K numbers like that. I mean, that's even a little bit better than Steven Kwan. So crazy K numbers. He was locked in, dialed in. Something happened in the offseason or something clicked. Maybe he talked to somebody about a swing tweak or just a mental approach. I don't know what it was, but the lights turned on in 2023. 10 home runs, 15 stolen bases. He's a career 300 hitter, career 179 ISO. But like I said, 2022 was just way off from those numbers, but he was so good in 19, 21, and 23 so far. So we're going to see what he's made of. He's been called up. He's not a top 100 prospect anymore. I think that the tanking of his performance in 2022 kind of ran him off that list. Organizationally, he is a number 4 in the Giant system. He's a Let's Talk Wax rank of 2, and I probably would have gone higher, but like I said, I kind of agree with MLB.com, and the 2022 season was very scary if you had some really nice Mato stuff, because I think a lot of people hit the panic switch. But like I said, I'm glad he's coming alive. I'm hoping everybody can kind of recoup some funds that they spent on Matos back in 2020, because he was really hot back then. $125 base auto right now. Hopefully he does well in the big leagues, and that's going to wrap up our Prospect Hot Sheet episode number 5. Now, before you leave, don't forget to check out my Patreon page if you want to help support the channel. I've got tons of exclusive content over there. I'll put a link to it in the video description. And if you're into sports cards, be sure to use my invite link in the video description. You guys can get a free $15 credit to try out the Whatnot app. Live stream auctions over there. They're a lot of fun. And I'll put a link to that free credit in the description. Huge shout out to everyone who is on my level 3 sponsorship over on Patreon. You guys rock, and everybody else that supports the channel via Patreon as well. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll run this series every 2 weeks. Y'all have a great day.